Hello, welcome to the Squared Circle Psychobabble. My name is Michael Valenti. Joining me on Skype is Ralph Valenti for news, reviews, and conversations on all things pro wrestling. Subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. So a few rumors are circulating right now, Ralph. So let's play shoot or work. If they're going to happen, we say shoot. If they're not going to happen, we say work. And we're going to start off with a podcast that happened earlier this week. The Ring of Honor Strong podcast had their first guest, which was Marty Scurll. And Kevin Eck asked the question, will we see a Ring of Honor and AEW partnership, even for a one-off? And here was Marty Scurll's response. I don't see why not. It would have to be a matter of timing and a matter of where it would benefit both companies. Obviously, I have an amazing relationship with the Bucks. I still talk to them regularly. I have a good relationship with Tony Khan, and both parties are willing to work with each other. It's just a matter of timing and when it's suitable to do so. Something is definitely not to rule out for sure. I'm not saying anything will happen, but I'm saying don't rule it out. So, Ralph, shoot or work that we will see some form of partnership between Ring of Honor and AEW.
So I'm going to say this is a work for right now. In the immediate future, I actually don't see these two companies working together anytime soon. Am I going to sit here and say that we never, ever see something like this happen? No. I mean, it's something that I think we could see potentially at some point, whether that's, 2 years, 5 years, however long, I don't know. But I think the key thing that he said was it would have to be beneficial for both companies. When you look at Ring of Honor and you look at AEW, it's very clear that right now AEW has a lot more to offer Ring of Honor than Ring of Honor has to offer AEW. I don't say that necessarily from a talent perspective, because of course there are certain guys that wrestle for Ring of Honor that AEW would love to have on their roster, or at least working on some form of capacity. I'm saying merely from the fact that right now AEW still is holding national television, still has weekly TV, is more recognizable, more well-known. And let's face it, I mean, Ring of Honor up until the signing of Marty Scurll really had some bad PR, a really kind of a down year. They had a lot of talent that left. Granted, they were able to sign some of their key talent back, but I think it would be more beneficial for Ring of Honor and not so beneficial for AEW. Now, I think they'd certainly like to work with some guys from Ring of Honor, but I don't see this happening strictly because I think it would be beneficial to Ring of Honor, and I don't think AEW would quite get as much out of it as Ring of Honor would.
I totally understand where you're coming from, where Ring of Honor would definitely benefit more than AEW right now. Obviously, the roster for Ring of Honor is depleted. Obviously, their national TV deal is not there compared to AEW, who's on TNT every week. They got a second show that's going to be coming at some point within the next couple months, maybe. But I actually think this could happen, and I think this could happen to benefit both companies. Here's something that you got to consider. WWE has the NXT. That's their developmental.
Right.
You have New Japan Pro Wrestling that has the Young Lions. What does AEW have that could be their developmental? Yes, QT Marshall and Dustin Rhodes do train their wrestlers that aren't on TV to get them ready for television, but why not put them in a situation to get them TV ready? Now, Ring of Honor does have some form of television. It's just not on a national scale. You have to go to regional television networks to find where they are, depending on, where you are in the country. So you look at someone like a Sadie Gibbs, where they sign her, but we haven't seen her. There's other people on AEW's roster that you don't really see them, but maybe could get some TV time in Ring of Honor. Obviously, it bolsters Ring of Honor's talent, and at the same time, AEW gets their talent ready for television. So why not get them to merge together and work together? The other thing, too, is a lot of the fans want this. Some form of partnership, whether it's with Ring of Honor, New Japan, NWA, or a mixture of all three. Who's the common between all four of these people, or four of these promotions? Marty Scurll. He has a relationship with the Young Bucks. He has a relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling and has a relationship with NWA. So if AEW wants to work with the other three promotions, that's the in right now, Marty Scurll. So I say, yes, this is a shoot. I'm not sure when it's going to happen, but perhaps maybe All Out. Why not go all out and get other promotions involved and make a super card out of it to help the independent wrestling scene, to help AEW, and the wrestling community alike to enjoy some good wrestling for the first time, where fans might be able to see live wrestling with live crowds. So another tag team that is rumored to be going to AEW is the Revival, or now known as the Revolt. Basically, everyone's saying they're going. Well, we finally got a tease on this past episode of Being the Elite. In the closing seconds of the episode, Matt Jackson and Nick Jackson are looking up to the sky, and they see clouds that form the letters FTR. And of course, Dax Harwood, who was Scott Dawson in WWE, he retweeted the screenshot of it on Twitter. So, does this confirm the Revolt are going to AEW?
I'm not going to sit here and say it confirms it, but I've always thought that if they were going to go anywhere, it would be AEW for a number of reasons. One of the most obvious reasons is AEW is certainly trying to bolster their tag team division. That's certainly been something that they've been trying to focus on from the formation of the company. So it would make a lot of sense for them to go there. Are there other options for them? Of course there are. Is there a bigger option or better option for them to go somewhere and really make an impact from, a national standpoint or within the United States? Not really, not at least in my opinion. So they can really go there, make a name for themselves, prove that they really are truly one of the best tag teams in the world, which I think a lot of people would consider them to be. They'd be able to do it on a national level with national weekly TV against some of the very best tag teams in the world, or even some of the up and coming young tag teams where they can teach them and have matches with them. So it just makes a lot of sense to me. I don't think that there's anywhere else they would be working within the United States that they would go there over AEW. The only other option I could potentially see is New Japan Pro Wrestling, but we know AEW does offer contracts where you can work for AEW and also go and work for New Japan, or at least work partially in New Japan Pro Wrestling. There's a few guys that have that clause in there. So if they truly wanted to do that, I'm sure that would still be an option. But if their mindset is showing Vince McMahon and showing the WWE that, look, we were there for a long time, we have a lot left in the tank, and you dropped the ball with us, there's no better place that they can go to and prove that they still have a lot to offer or prove WWE wrong other than AEW. So I do think AEW is the landing spot. So I think this is a shoot.
I agree with you that they're probably going to All Elite Wrestling. I'm not going to say that this confirms it, because we've seen tons of times where Being the Elite have teased things. People say, oh, it's definitely happening because they show up on Being the Elite, and it doesn't happen. Case in point, Marty Scurll, who they were teasing him coming to AEW, counting down his contract, and then he ends up going back to Ring of Honor. He actually was just on Being the Elite as part of the 200th episode, talking about Matt and Nick Jackson's big match. So this doesn't necessarily mean that he will, or the Revolt will, go to AEW. So while I agree that it's definitely happening, I don't think this is the be-all, end-all and being like, oh my God, it's confirmed. Until we get confirmation from AEW with that graphic, the Revolt are All Elite, you can't say that it's definitely confirmed. So I say, if it's possible to say this, but I'm going to go with a worked shoot, if that makes sense. So, all right, our last bit that we're going to talk about here is the WWE releases. As you know, the Revival were part of these big WWE releases. We saw that the likes of Deonna Purrazzo, EC3, Rusev. We did an All Elite Wrestling draft last week. I'll put the eye above my head and link in the description if you haven't checked that out yet. But there could be more coming, Ralph. WrestleVotes just tweeted out yesterday saying, hearing from a few different sources that WWE is willing to grant releases to, quote, just about anyone who requests one. Basically, if a talent wants out, they can go. Will be interesting to see if anyone really does want out, especially during this uncertain time. Shoot or work that we will see more releases coming in the future for talent that want to see them.
Shoot, in the sense that I definitely think we're going to get some more releases, especially if yesterday was any indication for that. We know that Cain Velasquez was released. Not a huge name, but you got to think that the contract side of it was probably pretty big. So they were able to loosen up some money there, getting him out of his contract. But I don't buy the fact that people are saying, or people are reporting, that they're going to release anybody. You know, all you have to do is ask them for the release and they'll grant you that. I think there are certain people that they would be willing to part with, depending on where you are on the card, where you are based on your level of success within the company. If we're talking about like a Kevin Owens or Randy Orton, Finn Balor, anybody that's in the upper mid card, anybody that's established, anybody who has a brand recognition or a name to themselves that is recognizable outside of the WWE, I can't see them releasing them. I really can't. Especially now in a situation where it looks like AEW looks like they're going back to work. They're going to have live TV. They're going to be putting on shows again. Granted, there won't be a crowd there, but knowing that they're going to be putting on more shows and live television, I can't see WWE just saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to give you your release." You know, you might have to fulfill your 90 days and not work, but after that point, you can do whatever you want. You can go sign with whoever you want. So yeah, I mean, they're lower card guys, the guys that are in the mid card, probably some guys that work, you know, NXT to a certain extent, maybe. But I don't just buy the fact that, you know, all you have to do is ask for your release and they're going to grant you that.
I agree that it depends on the person, but as we see with those that are released and the more interviews that come out or the people whose contracts run out their first interviews, it seems like those people all had some kind of issue with the way they were booked, the way they were pushed, and the way they were treated in WWE. So I think those that are getting pushed probably aren't going to ask for their release. Like, I don't see Braun Strowman going to be asking for his release anytime soon.
Right.
A Seth Rollins, a Murphy, Andrade or Angel Garza or Austin Theory. I see more of the likes of maybe, you know, just throwing a name out there just as an example, but like Ruby Riott, who since she's come back from injury has lost every single match. So she hasn't been booked properly. Or a Kairi Sane if her contract's not run out, where she hasn't really looked good really since TLC. They haven't really used her, and when she's used, she's the one losing her matches. So that's where I see the releases coming. I'm not going to be predicting which ones are going to be releases. Those are just kind of throwing names out there. I'm not saying those are ones getting released, but I actually see more releases coming, especially that we just saw Cain Velasquez getting released after that big money deal, after what seemed like so much was in the works for that. It just didn't pan out. And obviously, Brock Lesnar not being on television, what are you going to use Cain Velasquez for anyway, especially with the bum knee that he has? So I say shoot, and there will be more releases. I just don't know what names yet, and time will tell which ones ask for their release, but it'll be very interesting to see.
Yeah, I got to agree. And, you know, I don't think they're just going to let anybody go like we talked about. I think the thing that they used to be concerned about, or they probably are still concerned about, is the fact that they're going to let somebody go and go to AEW or any other company for that matter, and they'll get super over. The hard thing is predicting who that's going to be and when that's going to happen, because as history has shown you, you really don't know who that's going to be. You can compare it to Steve Austin, The Rock, Hogan, any of the guys that truly get over to a certain extent. You know, it's not like they're going to grant a release for a guy like John Cena, so John Cena can take his brand and his recognition and go to AEW. You know, that's just not going to happen. Maybe some people that are in the lower card, but I can't see them just releasing anybody who's asking for it.
Right. All right. So let us know in the comments where you think this all leads to. Will we see a partnership with Ring of Honor? Will we see the Revolt in AEW? And will we see more releases in WWE? Don't forget to share this all over social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at SCPB Podcast. And for news, reviews, and conversations on all things pro wrestling, subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications. For Ralph Valenti on Skype, my name is Michael Valenti. Thank you for watching the Squared Circle Psychobabble.